everybody, it's Annie Cyrus. Welcome to my art studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. Finish this painting, but I'm sure, or at least I hope, I'll see you at lutfstudio.com. Hello everybody, welcome to Live Up to Freedom, wherever you are joining us. It could be YouTube, Facebook, Lindell TV, or WVW TV, standing for World View Weekend TV. Thank you so much for joining us as always. Your comments will be appreciated. We will engage. If you have any questions, any comments, any suggestions, feel free to put them on the comment section. And I know Facebook and YouTube is the easiest comment section, so I do apologize for Lindell TV and WVW, as you may not get to put many comments in. How's it going, Michael? I heard you're getting a little sniffly too.
Yeah, I might be catching the plague. Maybe this is a computer virus and it's coming to me through the camera. Yeah, other than that,
Zuckerberg did it.
Yeah, exactly. It's all a conspiracy. Maybe we are in the Matrix.
Maybe we are. But no, on a serious note, I really hope it is not the flu that's going around. But if it is, I'll tell you what, hot tea is your best friend. It literally calms the coughing down. At least it worked for me. So just buy a lot of tea and just drink a lot of hot tea.
Oh, I'm on that. I've already been drinking it today and trying to drink juice, vitamin C. I took zinc earlier, anything I can to beat this before it starts.
Good. You're definitely smarter than me. Okay, so before I forget, please do share this stream wherever you're watching it from, so you can get your friends, family, those who are in your network to join us. That would be lovely. And let's go over the lower third real quick. I feel like I need to. There's a lower third. Everything on it is different ways that you could be supporting us, either mystore.com, mypillow.com, using promo code AC21, or you can go to my art store, lutfstudio.com. Someone told me I should mention, if you go in there's not an item you like, that's all right. You can always favorite the shop. As I post or list more items, you get a notification a new item was listed, so you might come to see something you like. And you can use the promo code Frank on my art store, lutfstudio.com. And general website is liveuptofreedom.com. Before we get to the topic that we want to talk about, we are having another I told you so topics tonight. You can see the smile on my face. But before we go there, yesterday we had a comment that was close to the end of the show, so I didn't catch it to answer then. It was on Lindell TV by Right On. And the question was, he wants to know what is there we can do, because I did mention yesterday that there's a lot to be done and we need to take action. So he asked for details. Here's my personal opinion, or actions at least I am taking. A few of them that I'm taking is, first of all, as you know, I'm out here screaming almost every night, every day, every morning, every afternoon, all day long. So it's called vocalizing your concern. When there's enough people, one of the reasons that Uniparty, Red Green Axis, Unholy Alliance, whatever you call it, globalists, one of the reasons they are where they are today is because they repeated their lies in a quantity of enough echoed voices to where it became the reality of our lives. Some of us didn't buy into it, but majority of people did. Something you said, Michael, yesterday was like, don't look at McCarthy being a speaker as a victory just because the TV tells you it's a victory. So we're going to reverse engineer their own psychological war. We got to be vocal. We got to be repeatedly talking about it. And I understand there's censorship, but there are other platforms that are not censoring our voices. So go there. I understand it's hard to move from a platform you're used to and you're comfortable with. I am. But we got to have to do it. There's, I think, Gather, Truth, Rumble, Brighteon, Frank Social. There are platforms that we can be vocal. We just need to echo our concern. That's one thing I do. I post all day long, or I do, I'm on air with either you, my own show, other people's show. The other thing I've been doing is I am absolutely stubborn, and I am knowing my representatives and other representatives. I have surpassed my own estate. I'm calling everybody now. Like, I'm
Yeah.
literally calling everyone with the same line I have written for myself, and I'm just like repeating it. And then I'm emailing it nonstop. Because remember, we just keep saying we the people, but we don't do the we the people. Therefore, it's kind of sort of just a threat that's empty threats. But as soon as they do see enough people are picking up the phone and putting that minute a day time into it, they will have no choice but to do actually make a difference or make changes. Sorry. Last thing I will say specifically, right on, you asked about the election. What do we do so it doesn't keep the same pattern? You will stop trying to fix this on a federal level. Stop it. This is not a federal level issue. This is not, it was manipulated and funded by federal level, but it is absolutely controlled by state level. So you're going to start going to your state level of representatives, from your governor to your mayor, representatives in the states. Go after them. Demand the change. Bring paperwork. Show them the Constitution. Show them the legal terms. If you can't, write to help me out here with his name. The lawyer Tom Renz.
Oh yeah,
Write
Tom
to
Renz.
Tom
Yes.
Renz, and he will guide you on where to go, what to say, all of that. But you gotta stop holding on. Like, we're like strangling the federal government, where it has nothing to do with them. It doesn't. It's the state level. So
Yeah.
get active on your state level. Go ahead.
Well, I think this is something too that it is another example of kind of a long-term media lie that's been repeated so much. The power for our elections is not determined at the federal level. It is determined by your state legislature. So you have to get involved locally. Pressure your representatives at the state level to do the things that you want them to do, to bring forth these different bills. If you like the way Florida handles their elections, emulate their plan. If you like the way another state that had cleaner or fairer elections, if you want your voter rolls audited and all the dead people and people don't live in the state anymore taken off, pressure people into do that. Also get involved with your local parties. Most of them have unfilled seats just sitting vacant. They're waiting for people to come in and get involved. And if enough people do this, again, you're going to put pressure on the right people, or you're going to take over the organization where people that are like-minded will then be able to set the agenda going forward. But putting enough pressure on them will get them to do things differently. To touch on one other thing you said, about being consistent and telling the truth. You do get through to people that way eventually, even on social media. I just recently had somebody, I've been posting stuff about, various topics for a long time. But I finally had somebody look into something I said. They were trying to prove me wrong initially. And then they started digging into it. They realized these facts, these reports and surveys and studies that I'd been citing, like these were legitimate. They just aren't being reported by our media here in the news.
Exactly. So these are I understand absolutely. By the way, before I say that, do we have anyone with us? Because I saw one comment coming from Karen. Hi, Karen. And then nothing. So I don't know if we're having glitch again. We might need to change platform. I mean, the software, Michael.
Yeah, I saw it
This
blip in and
software.
out. It blipped in and out on me, which is what it did the other day when it froze. So I don't know. It might not be responding. But if somebody could
Well, I
just
just
post
wanted to
hello.
say this. So if you're not saying anything, that's because we're not seeing your comments. But if you're not making a comment, then it's okay. You're just not making any comments. Karen, that's a very good point. She said, I don't think there is anyone in Michigan working for us. Well, unfortunately, as you know, Michigan is definitely one of the conquered states. But I don't think there's anyone working for anyone anywhere at this point.
Very few.
It's bad to say, but if it makes you feel any better, Karen, nobody's working for us here in Nebraska. Nobody's working for anybody in Ohio or Tennessee or California, or I'm running out of things to say, but in no states. Like, you could say Florida, yes. Florida,
Yeah, I mean,
you got DeSantis, who's, and he's under heavy attack. I'm not, and I want to say this is not an endorsement. I do believe in few events in last year, DeSantis has definitely not been on the right side of the things. But as a governor of a state, he's doing great for his people. But I wish you would just kind of close the door, because it seems like everybody's going to Florida now. I'm like, oh, okay, soon Florida will be California. But
Yeah.
yes, it's not that nobody's working for us, because we're not making them work for us. The simple example I always use is, your boss is not gonna, like, if you don't do your job, your boss is gonna come and pretty much give you one ultimatum. You don't get your things together, you're fired. You can't expect them to just automatically work for us. Unfortunately, our government has gone way too big for what it was intended for, and too corrupt. So we have to make them work for us, and that's what me and Michael are saying. We got to get more involved so we can force their hands to work for us. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, and keep in mind, like, our individual voices are competing against the lobbyists and the special interests and the money that they need for their campaign. So it takes a lot of us to make an impact, but probably not as many as you think. I've cited this over and over again. To make a company change their advertising policy and drop sponsorships, it takes an average of 150 to 200 phone calls to that company's headquarters. These things do make an impact, but we have to do them consistently. I have a couple of alarms set on my phone that throughout the week I call my rep here, Warren Davidson, and I call some other people around the state that are my representatives here in Ohio, and I let them know what I'm thinking. I either encourage them if they're doing well, or demand action if they've promised something that hasn't been done yet.
Yes, that's the thing. We got to take some time out as a business owner, a small business owner. I can tell you, you can't just open the business and walk away. You got to spend time, pay attention, keep records of everything. Otherwise, business will fall apart. This is the same. All of us, we the people, own this business called government. So we all have to put in the time. Okay, let's move on to. I did want to address Rydon's question for sure.
Sure.
Okay, so let's watch the video, Michael, and then come back and talk about it. How's that? Guys, let's take a look at this, like a minute, 20-second video, and then we come back and talk about it. For those of you who don't know what SEPA is IRGC. The last logo coming on the screen, and the name of the Telegram, by the way, I left that on because I want you to, well, it would be very hard for you to go find their channel and understand what they're saying in there because it's all Farsi.
Yeah.
But it is SEPA Hepastat. It's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. So that video was released by IRGC on the 8th of January. On their direct Telegram channel, verified channel, does not sound made up. Yes, I know. I mean, who would go follow their channel on Telegram giving themselves up? Apparently, I do. That's all right. That's besides the point. They have released this video on January 8th. Original threat against President Trump was released on January 9th of 2022.
Yeah.
If you all recall, I broke the news back then. Now, this one's out, and they have. Here's what I will say. So I'll say this, and then Michael, you gotta put your comment into it. But the fact that they're making threat does not surprise me whatsoever. the fact that they will not give this up until they take their revenge is just the way IRGC is. No, none of it is a wow factor for me. What is embarrassing for me as an American is the fact that in a matter of 2 years, they have got so bluntly, I need a polite name here for it. Help me out here.
They're so bold. They
Bold, for lack of a better term, that they have not
yeah.
only expanded the list from just President Trump to so many other names, they're putting them in their location on their video. Now they're even saying they will pick when and how. And you
Yeah.
saw the list of, and by the way, this is a bad joke, but I'm like, I can't wait for the left to see this video and say, see, we need more gun control. There are 2 different types of gun used in this video. But yes, it's basically they are so boldened by lack of reaction by Biden regime and extreme support by Biden regime that this is the newest threat released on their Telegram channel.
Yeah, they can go around making threats like this, and we do zero, not a thing. There are no repercussions for them sending direct threats to President Trump, to even one of the left's own. Mark Milley's on that video. I'm sure you guys know he's the ultra woke general that's still serving in the Biden regime. But no repercussions, no, not even talks of it. And if anything, if asked about it, they'll probably say, "Oh, well, we still hope the nuclear deal can go forward." It's just going to be ignored and swept under the rug. But they're obviously planning. They've also expanded it out. I mean, their original threat just showed the drone strike on a golf course, some sort of little tank drone. This, they're saying they're going to choose the method, they're going to choose the time, and they haven't forgotten. And unfortunately, there's a certain amount of truth to that, because you have somebody that's willing to trade their life to take out another target. There's a good possibility they're going to do it.
Well, here are the few things I'm going to break down here with the few minutes we have left for us to be with our Lindell TV audience. Mark, you made a comment and said, well, he did give the order to drone strike Soleimani, so it doesn't surprise me. I will not say anything. If you could kindly elaborate on what do you mean by, well, he did. Are you saying that it is fair game for them to make threats, or what? If you would elaborate before I address your comment, because I don't want to jump the gun. Sometimes comments can be short and not fully explained. But I'll go back to this. IRGC is officially on a terrorist list. It's just the way it is. It is on a terrorist list. Okay. However, on so many ends, there are so many experts who can testify to that, that they are being imported into America. Many of them are already in America, standing by for green lights to carry out either terror attacks on American people or just a specific targets. The thing is, I don't understand when and how. I do understand. I'm kind of playing this a little, low key. The question is, why are we okay? Are we as Americans? I'll take it even further into why are we Iranian Americans okay? I'm still waiting for my fellow Iranians to, come out and say something as well, even though they're on our streets in America, helping the revolution in Iran. But why are we okay with the United States of America directly negotiating with terrorists, bluntly giving them money? And I'm not talking pennies and dimes. We're talking billions of dollars, lifting sanctions, working with them. Since when? Like, again, IRGC is absolutely bold, and yes, but look how bold Biden regime is, Michael. They are completely openly negotiating with these people, and they know there will be no consequences for them. You know why? Because there was no consequences for Obama. There weren't. But when Soleimani was taken out, I remember when I did the live feed on Facebook and told everybody, calm down. Single-handedly, Trump has started World War III. What? Calm down. There is no World War III. What I did back then, I said, watch out for our embassies, because they're going to try to retaliate by attacking our embassies, which they did. They went after a couple of our embassies. But when Trump tried to put them in their place, he was attacked. But when Biden enabled them, when Obama enabled them, nobody's saying that's why they're boldened.
No, if anything, they're praised. Biden and Obama are both praised for this nuclear deal, even though, again, it's steps that embolden our enemy and put our safety and the safety of our allies and the people across the Middle East, puts that in jeopardy. If we're allowing them to continue to expand, we're unlocking funds, we're unlocking avenues for them to raise their own money, dropping these sanctions, allowing them to openly trade with China and Russia. These are all things that embolden them. We're sending exactly the wrong message. And then again, our continued lack of support here in the US for these people bravely fighting for their freedom on the streets of Iran right now. Whereas, even as you mentioned yesterday, Iceland and other nations like that are getting involved. The UN's finally doing something and saying something, but we are still silent on it. And then this happens, we're silent on this too. I mean, I doubt we're going to see a real response from our State Department or from the Biden regime or anybody else. And the media is not going to cover it here. This will just get swept under
Exactly.
the
And
rug.
thank you, Mark, for elaborating on that. And I agree with you. He said Soleimani deserved every bit of what he got, but Mark is not surprised that they're trying to get some sort of payback. Exactly. Why is this video not all over, like, I don't know, every platform? CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, Newsmax. How about that? Like, what is that
Yeah.
other channel called? Help me out.
OAN.
OA. Thank you. Why?
Yeah.
Why
Yeah, 'cause
are we not talking? I understand that there's a lot going on inside America that needs to be covered. I get it. But guess what? We've been paying attention so much to the Marxists, we have forgotten about the green side of the red-green axis. Look how far they've come. We got 290. There is a single of 219 Muslim representatives and officials in America out there saying what came out of IRGC should be responded to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got
you won't
219 not represented officials, elected officials who were sworn, I can't say that word, anyways, into the offices by putting their hands on their Quran. But you had McCarthy going in without putting his hand on the Bible. What are we doing, guys? I promise not to get worked up, but it's just impossible.
Oh no. I mean, and it's absolutely disgusting. Like, this should be a leading headline, even if you want to make the argument that it's not the top story today. This should be all over the media, because again, this is a foreign nation making a direct threat on elected and bureaucratic leaders here within the country, some of them who are still currently serving, and they're saying, we're going to get you. There's going to be vengeance for killing Soleimani, and we're going to determine when that happens. This is, again, it's a direct threat from a terrorist nation on leaders that we have within our own nation. And you're not going to hear a peep about it. I mean, I'm sure 95, 97% of the entire country right now has no idea this happened.
No. And that's the thing. Again, not to brag so much, but do you think our audience would know about it if it wasn't for me following IRG, literally putting my neck out, following IRGC Telegram channel, which they can spell my IP address like that?
Yeah.
And grab these videos and bring them up? No.
No. I mean, like, before, when you brought up the story last year when they did this, you were the first one that I saw cover it. And then I did see it pop on some other places, Jihad Watch and other places. But still, it's not getting out to like the mainstream. Unless you're somebody that looks for those things, you're not going to see it. Gateway Pundit did put this up eventually. But again, it's been over 24 hours at this point. But you're not going to see it on a Fox News or AP or CNN or anybody else. They'll never mention this unless something happens and they do strike and either attempt to kill or succeed in killing one of these people they've made a threat on.
Well, that's the thing. I remember we're coming up here in February. And I can't even believe it.
Yeah.
Third year since our beloved hero and friend Phil Haney was killed. And remember his project's name: National Security Meltdown. National Security Meltdown. If this video is not a matter of national security, what is, Michael? If this is not being discussed by everyone in government, in mainstream media, in alternative media, what are we doing?
What else really constitutes a threat? And here's the thing: it's even worse than that, because, as you've mentioned many times, they're not even looking for these kind of threats anymore. The word, Islam, terrorism, Islamic terrorism, all these things have been wiped from the training manuals. They don't even look at it. So that tells me we're not even looking for these kind of threats or even anticipating. We're actually training people to turn a blind eye to it, which is just inviting there to be another major successful attack. And we just had a person recently within, was it Homeland Security, say expect an Al-Qaeda type attack on U.S. soil within the next however many months. So there are people on the inside know that they're gearing up for something. And unfortunately, I think they're probably right, because it's been several years since that scale kind of attack has happened on U.S. soil, and our guard is most certainly down.
Exactly. We have a wonderful question. I was hoping somebody's going to ask this question. Thank you, Karen, for asking it. Why is it that Brazil is all over the news, but Iran is nowhere? Silence, crickets. I'll tell you why. There are two reasons. Number one, what's happening in Brazil is so relatable. What they're fighting for is what we wish we would fight for, but we don't. So we're kind of living through vicariously through that. Number two, no matter how much you cover Brazil's situation here in America, you just do it. 12 bounties on my head for covering Iran.
Yeah.
Apparently, we don't have enough journalists or reporters or politicians who are willing to take bounties on their head to cover. That's the two reasons that you hear all about Brazil and nothing about Iran. Because they don't want to put their neck out there physically. They don't want to be killed or targeted. Iran International Media Channel in London is under 24/7 police protection right now in England because of covering the revolution in Iran 24/7. American media don't want to have to do that. They don't. And as I said, what's happening in Iran, we're about 30 years away from being that oppressed. So we can't relate to them. And you know how it is in our culture here in America. If we can't relate to them, it's not our problem. But with what's happening in Brazil, well, we can't relate to. I mean, we're not doing what they're doing. Good for them. We can't claim their bravery, but at least we can claim understanding or relating to them. What do you think, Michael?
Yeah, and I actually have another theory with Brazil too. You notice how most of our media here ignored what was going on there until yesterday. Even though the people were marching in the streets, there's again tons of examples of improprieties, let's just say, that went on with their elections there, without getting into detail. That was essentially ignored here by our press. You saw a few little blips about it in blurbs right after the election happened, and then silence, blackout, unless you went and looked for it. Now all of a sudden it's everywhere, and they're already trying to paint this as just another insurrection, the January 8th insurrection of Brazil. So they're trying to, again, feed it into their own narrative that somehow it's all these right-wing extremists around the world. I mean, I'm pretty sure we're going to have stories on Brazilian white supremacists within the next 20, 30 minutes. But they're already trying to create that narrative, and it feeds into their same overall agenda and their overall message here. We'll see what happens in Brazil, but I'm not
Michael,
real hopeful.
I will still take a negative coverage for Iran and Iranian people over no.
Oh,
I get
absolutely.
what you're saying, but I still prefer, forget about people of Iran altogether. We are under direct threat by IRGC. I mean, I don't know. I'm literally.
I think, honestly, if they were covering the Iranian Revolution here, the same way that you are, if it was covered like that on the mainstream media, people would get behind it, because they would understand at the end of the day, even if there's cultural differences and other differences, everybody can relate to the idea of wanting to be free and the abuse that women suffer under across the Middle East. I think that's why it's kept out of the media. If it was given more attention, I do think people would get behind it. But right now, if you want to know the story, you have to go out of your way to find it. It's completely ignored otherwise. I'm sure most people think that after, there's probably a lot of people who are aware of what happened initially with Masa Amini, and after that, they think that it just stopped.
Yes, but I don't think. I think you're being overly
Optimistic.
generous. No,
Yeah.
overly generous by saying everybody can relate to wanting to be free. No.
True.
No. And I'll tell you why, even though we have less than 30 seconds to wrap up with our Lindell TV audience. So let me wrap up here. The statement of everybody can relate to be wanting to free is not accurate, because if everybody in America wanted to be free, we wouldn't be sitting back, relaxing, chilling, and doing nothing about everything that we have handed over to our government. On that fact, looking at Iran, looking at China, looking at Brazil, Italy, Venezuela, France, England, we don't want to be free. We want freedom to be handed to us, which is, well, it doesn't exist. Freedom is not something it's handed to you. It's something you fight for. To our Lindell TV audience, thank you so much for staying with us until now. Please stay safe and stay vigilant. stay involved as much as you can. And we will see you tomorrow for the rest of other platforms. Don't go anywhere. We're going to take a very quick break, hear from our sponsor, and be back with you.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell. Years ago, when I invented MyPillow, I was faced with every adversity you could think of. No retailers wanted to sell MyPillow. That's come full circle. Vendors took advantage of me, and I was copied by China. Well, by the grace of God, I was able to get through all that and learn from it. I have a passion to help other U.S. entrepreneurs, and that's why I created my new platform, MyStore.com. We have hundreds of products from amazing entrepreneurs, and to celebrate, I'm going to put my pillows on MyStore.com right now. You can get my standard My Pillows regularly $69.98, now only $19.98 with your promo code. Or you can get my standard queen size, regular $79.98, now only $29.98. Or you can get my premium king size, regularly $89.98, now only $34.98. So go to mystore.com and use that promo code on your screen to get huge discounts on all My Store products. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you so much for staying with us until now. We are still with you on YouTube, Facebook, and WVW TV. So thank you for being with us. Yes, please go to mypillow.com or mystore.com and use the promo code AC21. If you like to support us, you get discount, we get credit. Go to lutfstudio.com, use the promo code Frank. Again, you get discount, we get support from you. And those of you who are with us either on WVW or Facebook or YouTube, make sure, if you can, go ahead and go to worldviewweekend.com, worldviewweekend.com. That did not come out right. And click on donate button and make a donation to WVW Foundation, which is 100% tax deductible, because we would like to continue being aired here on WVW. And if we get your support there, that would be greatly appreciated. Okay. It's either my fever is skyrocketing or this whole discussion got me all fired up, because I think I'm like literally my face is burning up.
It's probably both. I want to add to something you said though, because I do think you're right. I think people here they're certainly not willing to fight for their freedoms, and I think at this point, unfortunately, they're willing to trade them for that false sense of security, because we've been so lulled to sleep here that we aren't willing to do anything about it. We've watched for the last several years of things have been taken away from us. Everybody gets loud as a keyboard commando, but when it comes time to actually put your feet to the fire and do something about it, we're nowhere to be found.
Very true. Here's the thing. I had someone on a message, I love hearing from our audience, but somebody wrote me a message and said, I understand you're doing something more than the rest of us, which is, broadcasting. But I'm pretty sure they didn't mean anything harsh again, but it was like, well, don't you think you are claiming too much? I just want to quickly remind everyone, before I get to be on camera or get a microphone or a stage or even learn enough English to speak it, I did fight for my freedom. When I was 15 until I was 18, for 3 years, I fought for my freedom. Sometimes it could be hard. I take it as a compliment that, my friends, my good friends, inner circle, bosses, everybody kind of forget that I came here 20 years ago and I wasn't born here. But I just want to remind everyone, I'm not claiming too much. Been there, done that, way younger than everybody. I'm not asking you to do anything I haven't done myself. I'm not even asking you to leave everything behind and walk into absolute unknown. I did that. Yeah. I'm just asking you to appreciate what you already have. So just a quick reminder, I'm not just, this charismatic host and a reporter. Now, I'm someone who's done what I'm asking you to do at a much younger age with a lot more fear. I wasn't saved back then. So there was a lot of spiritual battle to go through. But since I have walked that path, I am trying to ask everyone to walk a shorter path to freedom. I would not want to see every one of you have to go through what I went, or your children have to go through what I did. That is what I'm doing. I'm not claiming anything. I'm just trying to help.
And
That's
that's
all.
real. And that's really who the fight is for, is for your kids, for future generations. Because if we don't do something to stamp this out now, think about hor- how much this problem has accelerated just over the last few years. If you think it's going to stop anytime soon, it's not. I mean, our call them whatever you want, the globalists, the uniparty, whatever. I mean, their agenda is pretty clear, and we're not offering much in the way of real resistance. Even this fake battle that just happened in the House of Representatives, I noticed something earlier today. They're voting on this rules package. I guess later this evening, but anyway, they're already breaking that. They're supposed to have 72 hours to review every bill. So right off the bat, before they even pass the thing, they're already breaking it. So my expectations are pretty low, which means we've got to get something done and get something, motivate our base, our people. If we don't want to see their agenda continue to accelerate forward, we've got to get out in front of it.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Now the question is, will we? That's a big. I have said this. I mean, you're very familiar with this phrase.
Yeah.
I've been saying this phrase for almost about 9 years now. And first time ever I heard it as an intro of a song that I used to listen to a lot. It was a Persian song, but the intro was a few sentences of English, and the question remains to be answered: who's going to save humanity from itself? That is where the problem starts. That we lack willingness. I don't even know what's the proper English word for it. That we want to, and that's why I always tell a lot of people that wanting something than having it are two very different scenarios. Not
Yeah.
even talk about, like, in average, in normal lifetime of ours, we have so many dreams that we don't end up reaching, not because they were so unreachable, no, because we just didn't really put any plan together to get there. We didn't put the proper time into to get there. It's just human nature. Do pardon me, but being lazy is human nature.
Yes.
You are my witness. Sometimes, what do I tell you? I'm like, what is this I'm busy thing people say? I do this and this and this and that. It's only 4 p.m. in the afternoon. I stay out the rest of the day.
Yeah. Well, you're exactly right. It is laziness. Most people do like to sit around and dream. It's fun to dream about what the future could hold, but it's a lot different to go actually put that into action, do something. And like you said, yeah, your typical day by 4 p.m., you probably accomplished more than most people out there. In the same way, I get up in the morning, I have things I want to do, and then I know that later in the day, I want to be here in front of the computer editing. I know I'll be on with you in the evening and then back to editing, but I want to make sure I accomplish as much as I can in the day. So the next day, it's not all piled up. I think that's part of it too, is, as they say, tomorrow is the busiest day of the week. It's very easy for us to procrastinate and keep putting things off. But when you keep doing that, nothing gets accomplished. You never better yourself. You never achieve your goals. You never accomplish anything. And then you start forgetting about them.
Exactly. So at the end, again, oh wow. Sorry, I just saw this. So we're gonna talk about this in a second. But again, it goes back to: are we going to do what you said, get ahead of it or not? But I just caught this on Jehovah's.org. Why did I say .com? .com works too. Anyways, so guess what just happened? I don't have a way of putting this quickly on air, but a Chinese oil company will invest as much as $150 million in the first year and $540 million over the subsequent 3 years in an agreement with Taliban for oil exploration deal. Hold on, let me read that one more time. Huh?
Yeah.
Chinese oil company will invest as much as $150 million in the first year and $540 million over the subsequent 3 years in an agreement signed with Taliban for oil exploration deal. 17 months after taking power, the Taliban has signed a major oil deal with communist China. On Thursday, a Chinese state-linked energy company sealed a 25-year oil exploration agreement with Taliban. The deal is expected to bring in nearly $700 million investment in the next 4 years to the Taliban-run Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. Oh, wow. I'm going to stop
Unbelievable.
talking for a sec.
Well, and this is on top of, China's all over this. They're also trying to cut infrastructure deals both in Iran and in Afghanistan. They want to control, it's not the oil, the fuel, the energy, but they also want access to all these rare earth minerals. Was it lithium and cobalt that come out of Afghanistan? I might have one of those wrong. But anyway, they want to corner that market because they're already where most of the production goes for your modern, lithium polymer batteries go and everything from electric cars to cell phones to the next generation stuff, the lithium iron phosphate that's going into power stations and things like that. They want to have that market completely controlled. They want to have access to all the resources. And again, this is vital for our national security and our national defense. Having access to these items is something that we need to compete on a world stage. And again, they're ahead of the game. They're cutting off the supply, which means either we need alternatives or we just fall behind. But yeah, it's disgusting. And the fact that, again, nothing's said about this, but this is the result of dropping these sanctions too, as we've opened it up to where, what are we going to say about it? Is there anything in place against Afghanistan at this point? Are there any real sanctions that would prevent this kind of trade?
Nope. There are no sanctions against Taliban. Remember, we technically, majority of countries, Western especially countries, they already legitimized the government of Taliban. And then some didn't legitimize them, but did agree to have representation from them in forms of either ambassadors or a special representatives, something like that. So Taliban is officially the government. So what sanctions?
Yeah, good point. So yeah, again, it's another example of nothing will be done. And this is, again, it's a thing that's a great disadvantage for the United States. And again, we're going to just let China basically corner this market. They've done this across Africa already for like cobalt mining and other rare earth minerals. So there's another piece of their puzzle. It's another piece of this red-green axis we keep talking about, or you keep talking about, this growing alliance between China, Russia, Iran, and other terroristic nations, and against the West and freedom.
Well, we should be a little bit more precise because times are getting to where words are very, very tricky. Yeah. It's not against the West. It's against the people of the West.
Yeah.
Because the governments are all in it. Like, for 1 second, if you think our government is not in it, no, they are in it, 100%.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's the World Economic Forum, globalists. It is all part of their plan. They like the Chinese model. It's been praised over and over again, from their COVID response to their totalitarian control. I've heard it described as a market economy with a dictatorship in charge of things, and that's what they want for the rest of the world. We've already seen, when they come up with phrases like "trust the science," it's to shut up debate. I mean, real science doesn't care to be tested because you have some faith in that your results and your information are correct. But they want a system that is top down and dictatorial, and that's what we're going to get again if something isn't done now.
I personally think when they say trust the science, it's, to me, it's the point that they have taken God away from our society. Trust the science is not trusting God, trusting science, because at the end of the day, atheism all went into the whole Big Bang thing, which was science. So to me, whenever somebody says trust the science, I'm like, I trust God. Yeah. Then I enjoy science. I actually enjoy science, as we have discussed. The whole resin thing. I love that chemical reactions that's going on, but I trust God and I enjoy science. But to me, every time they brought up this trust science thing, was to promote godless society more than anything, which we have. And Karen had a great point of, yes, God is the only one who can save humanity. The problem is there isn't enough of humanity willing to allow and help him to do it. Exactly. When you're such a godless society, and I'm not talking about, let me tell you something, Michael. I've been looking around for so long, I'm going to say 4 months now, deep. And it's this new thing of, it's spiritual but not religious. What does that even mean? Or agnostic. Or you barely find anyone holding on to a faith as far as our end goes, Muslims are all, they're never spiritual but not religious. They're always Muslim. Jewish people are always Jew. It's the Christians. We're all sort of different things. I mean, we believe in God, but I don't really do this. And then
it's the cafeteria religion. People want to be able to just take the parts of it they like that make them feel good, but then ignore the parts that they don't like that would require them to change some part of their own life or change their behavior.
Or maybe it could be the part that a lot of people, I will say this, Christians, Christians who want to be modern. They don't want to apply what would make them religious, as they call it. And I actually had this very, not heated, but deep discussion and debate with someone about the whole, Christianity and modernization of Christianity. And it was the whole, we're in a society where if you identify as Christian, then you reject the modern life. I'm like, what? Who said that? Well, you should listen to, I started naming 90% of CNN and MSNBC hosts. And I'm like, okay. If that's your source of information, I suggest you actually sit down and open the Bible. Read the Bible. Let Bible be your source. And again, this person was like, oh no, I'm a Christian. I'm not saying I'm not a Christian. I just don't publicly go with, like, I don't wear my Christianity on my sleeve. I said I don't wear it on my sleeve either. I wear it on my necklace, but I mean, different phrases, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Not to get too far distracted from the topic, but yes, godless society is where we're having a lot of struggles with. Well, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. All I was going to say is you kind of had a bell went off my head when you were talking a minute ago. That when people say trust the science, what they're really saying is they want you to put your faith in them and not in God and not in yourself and not in the knowledge that you have. They want your blind obedience. Yep. And I guess that kind of really backs up the point that you were making, but also to this other point that you were making about and I know there's a term for this, but there's, the people that just want to take the parts of the religion that they like, the pretend Catholics, the ones that say, I identify as a Christian or I identify as a Catholic. I mean, to me, that's basically just them saying, I pretend to be this when it's convenient, but otherwise I don't want to make the commitment. I don't want to actually be a Christian and actually, practice the things that I believe and live that life. I just want to take the parts that are convenient to me and do those.
Yes. And that's actually one of my favorite topics lately. I don't get involved with the topic, but I listen to the topic, is the talk about Catholics. I'm a Catholic and I have nothing against the Catholic Church, but I don't like the Pope.
Yeah.
Okay. It's what?
Oh, I think this.
I mean,
I think there's
it's the same thing. I'm sorry. Let me just finish my talk.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
It's the same thing of, Biden's not my president. Yeah. Same concept to me. It's like, where are you? Like, head, the snow. Come on, wake up. He is. Not by your choice, but he is. Guess who's still signing all the deals with other countries? That would be Joe Biden. Guess who's making all the regulations for the Catholic Church? The Pope.
Yeah.
So this, it's just, I don't know. I guess I never been to that much deep of a denial to, rather than fix the problem, deny that problem belongs to me. That's how I look at it.
And that's a very good way to look at it. And that's, again, a common problem, that people will disassociate themselves with the problem or something they don't like and pretend it doesn't really concern them. But I've thought about this a lot, that I think part of the reason why we've had this splintering within the churches and within Christianity in general is because you've had, and this does work both directions, but I think a lot of these churches that have kind of tried to, adopt to modern life and only talk about parts of the Bible or the message that is less controversial and ignore the parts that are more controversial in our modern society. That's sort of how you get to this point where people quit going to the church because there's no reason to. Like, people, the churches that their attendance doesn't drop and they stay more they continue to grow are the ones that do preach the truth by and large, because people go there because they want structure in their life. They want to learn things. They want to become better people. But if you take that away and it's just the parts of the Bible that everybody can agree with, don't kill. I think most of us are going to agree with that message. That there's no reason to keep going, because you do already know it. You're never going to grow as a person. You continue to go to the place that just tells you what you want to hear.
Exactly. But yeah, the entire concept of um people not being interested in anything that makes them uncomfortable. I don't know. I really don't know. What I do know is there was another discussion. So somebody said sometimes on the stream we have a question from Harlan asking, poorer churches aren't telling the truth. Is that what you were saying, Michael?
Yeah, I don't think it has anything to do with the church being poor, or there is what is that called? It's the prosperity gospel versus the sorry, my brain isn't working on the other term right now. I mean, there is that discussion too. But that wasn't really what I was getting at as much, at least not in this context. I'm talking more like the churches that are, there's a good example, one around here that I don't want to name, that is a very inclusive church. They only talk about Pastor Rick Warren said this before, they don't discuss parts of the Bible that are more controversial or disagree with certain elements of modern lifestyle. They don't want to offend anybody or push anybody away for any reason. But I'm sorry, but like, if you don't have any values, don't have any structure, and there's nowhere you're willing to put your foot down, then why have the religion to begin with?
Well, that's 90% of churches.
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay, yeah, I just caught that comment. I wanted to make sure you make that answer,
Yeah,
Harlan.
yeah. Sorry, that's how it was interpreted. It is not what I meant, like the financial side of it, or the I wish I could remember the term for that. It's prosperity
Actually,
gospel
I would
versus
say if a church is poor, they are definitely telling the truth. The
probably it's
fancier and the richer the church, the most likely they have given into the whole concept of LGBTQ and the transgenders and the same sex marriage and all that. That's how they
yeah.
make their money. I would actually translate it that way: that the poorer the church, the more truthful they are, because they don't compromise or sacrifice the gospel for getting more funding or getting more donations or whatever the case might be. But
And they're living the message. If they're poor like that, then probably whatever funds they do have coming in, they're spending on good causes. They're using it to help the poor, help whoever's in need, and to spread the gospel.
yes. Okay, it looks like we have few James. James mentioned someone or something is controlling his phone, and Karen said apparently that has happened to her as well when the phone has a mind of its own. I will confirm that it has happened to my phone a few times, where it was actually earlier this afternoon. I was trying to type a message back and it just wouldn't type what I was typing. It was like autofill just going on its own. I'm like, what are you doing? That's not what I'm typing. So absolutely, Harler. Thanks for asking the question. Anyhow, James, first of all, it's great to see you, James. It's been a while, James Matthew. But I hope your phone kind of gets back on its feet. Now, back to, we only have a few minutes to go, and I want to talk about something that's been, at least on my mind, Michael. It feels like it's a little bit of a, how do we say this, like a back and forth of I'm partially understanding it, I'm partially not understanding it. Anyways, so one thing I want to just, you go ahead and put your 2 cents into it, but I want to ask my uh, fellow Americans. I want you all, you might already do it. If you're not doing it, please, I want you to start researching and looking into your own state. For example, federal, I'm talking about state, your own state, and look into your taxes. If you're in a state with no income tax, just look at your sales tax and other stuff. If you're in a state with the income tax as well, just uh, it feels like, Michael, that there is this like general agreement that has gone over, maybe few states not, but majority of the states after midterm. It's like they all behind closed doors made an agreement that let's push. So how do I phrase this properly? Let's add to taxes to where the hyperinflation will stop looking like a hyperinflation. It just looks like people are more broke. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
I've been looking at a couple of states, and I'm seeing the same pattern of where starting 2023, the adjustment into taxes planned from 2023 to 2026 versus how we're seeing the rise of pricing. I just can't help but, and remember, I do the math thing. I'm coming from a long line of accountants. I'm like,
Yeah.
it just feels like that's what they're doing.
Well, it does.
What do you think?
Yeah, because it does almost seem to be coordinated. Like I hadn't noticed it until you brought it to my attention a few days ago that there are several states that have either increases to their income tax, increases to their sales tax, and it does almost seem to be orchestrated, especially again at a time where we've heard from the federal government, they want a lot of like minimums put in so that you have to have a state tax of X amount, because right now it does send businesses, especially in people, to certain states. Your Tennessee's, Florida's, Texas, what is it, Montana, or states like that without an income tax, or other states that have extremely low property.
I think South Dakota is also no.
Yeah, I knew I was forgetting somebody, but but yeah, it's politicians think that your money is their money. They just have to figure out how to put it from your wallet to their bank account. So there's always this push toward it, and that's how Canada, when you factor in the VAT and the income tax and the sales tax and all that, or a lot of Europe, I mean, you're talking like 60% of your income is being taken by the government.
Mhm.
And we are slowly working our way towards that. I mean, if you're in New York or California, we're already over that. I think California, I know, is over 60%. If you're in a higher income, mid to high income bracket, you live in New York City, between the city, state, and federal taxes, you're paying over 60% of your income to the government.
Correct. Yeah, it's kind of like, I feel like it was that moment of, I need to tell everyone to look into their own estate. Just start racking up these taxes. If you're a W-2 employee, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Check your next pay stop. Look at the percentage that's been deducted. It's like, it's weirdly they're sneaking it in without sneaking it in. I don't know how to explain it.
Well, yeah, because it's hardly been publicized at all. Like, I wouldn't have known about several of these at all if you hadn't brought it to my attention originally. And then I was getting bored as I'm trying to go to sleep. I always get on my tablet and read news stories before I go to bed. And then I saw 3 or 4 other states that had the same thing, had increases either in the sales tax or property tax, or they're refiguring things. And it is a sneaky way to do it. And as you said, since right now we're in this time where there's hyperinflation coming, more on its way, people weren't going to notice because they're already used to paying. I mean, kind of joking around about it, but eggs at $8 a dozen. I went to the store today; they were $7.87 or $7 something, almost $8 for a dozen eggs. But as prices keep going up, you're not going to notice these little taxes as much, but it's still taking more and more and more from you, leaving you with less and less and less, leaving you more desperate and more willing to turn to whoever's on the TV telling you that they're going to take care of your problems. And I do think that's part of the problem, is get people so desperate that they are willing to trade more of their freedom for more of the illusion of safety.
Yes, it's and by the way, I do apologize. I didn't mute myself, but for a second I just fell apart here. Put it back up again. So,
I can see the sneezing from the corner of my eye. Don't worry, okay.
I know. I'm like, okay, at least I made it to mute myself. I think my body's telling me time's up. But I feel like because of people like Brandon House, at least for me, Brandon House has been on top of this hyperinflation for like a year and a half. I feel like for like what's his name? Help me with his name. Joe Altman.
Joe Altman, yeah.
Conservative Daily Broadcast. Many other conservative outlets have, it's like I feel like they're like, oh wait, they're catching up to the inflation. Let's twist this. Instead of adding to price, we keep the prices right where it is. Now we're gonna take more money from them. They can't afford it. So it's like, all I'm saying is, not to repeat myself too much, please check your taxes stuff. Be careful. Again, a state tax is absolutely unconstitutional. If you are in a state where you have a state tax, income tax, gonna start putting some petitions together. It won't hurt you. Just a petition, it's your First Amendment, God-given right. Put some petition together and start getting signatures. You never know. By end of the year, you might be able to either lower or completely dissolve your income tax of your state. Last words of wisdom go to you, Michael, before we wrap up here.
Yeah, and I think, and you always hear the excuse, the state needs the money for roads or whatever, and that is BS. The money for your roads comes from the gas tax that you pay every time you fill up your truck. Money for education comes from your property tax. The income tax basically gets spent on whatever the state wants to spend it on. And if Texas and Florida and Tennessee and other major states can budget without taking a piece of your paycheck, then your state can do it too.
Bingo. Well said. Thank you so much for staying with us. We'll be back tomorrow. I hope I feel better so I don't just, annoy everybody with like the sneezing. At least the good thing is you just see the motion of it. You don't hear it much. But keep me in your prayers, please. Stay safe and stay vigilant. Go to mypillow.com, MyStore.com. Use the promo code AC21. Go to lutfstudio.com. Use the promo code Frank. Tell your other friends about my art store, especially if you have already made a purchase. Thank you so much for all the good reviews you're putting on. Make sure to tell everybody else about it. liveuptofreedom.com. liveuptofreedom.com. And we will see you, Lord willing, tomorrow.
Thanks again. Don't forget to live up to freedom.